Hey everyone, welcome back to a conversation about quiet, unshakable strength. The kind of strength that doesn't shout, but leaves a lasting impression. You know what I mean, right? That silent, steady resolve that says more than words ever could. You've given it your all, haven't you? You've sacrificed your own needs, set aside your dreams, and bent over backward just to prove your worth to them. You've done everything in your power to show up for them, hoping they'd finally recognize how much they mean to you. You've gone the extra mile, always available, always saying yes, never asking for anything in return. You've poured out kindness endlessly, just waiting for the day they'd notice, appreciate, and care. But what did you get in return? They treated you like a convenience, like you were nothing more than an afterthought. They took all your care, your effort, your love, and discarded it without a second thought. They walked all over you, seeing your loyalty and devotion as obligations instead of gifts. You tried to bridge the gap, you talked, reasoned, maybe even begged, just for a little acknowledgement. But each attempt only left you feeling smaller, more invisible. It felt like they were too blind, too careless, or too comfortable to truly see your worth. The more you gave, the more it felt like you were fading into the background. It's like they became numb to your presence, indifferent to the depth of your heart. And no matter how hard you tried, it only made you feel like you mattered less. Until finally, you realized nothing was going to change. You had one last move, the most powerful card in your hand. Silence. So, you chose to step back, to let the noise fade, and to stop filling their world with your presence. No more late-night texts, no more calls, no more small reminders that you were there, waiting, hoping. It's like you disappeared, leaving nothing behind but silence. And that silence? It's louder, more impactful than anything you could have said. Now, they're left to face a world without you, a world where the warmth they took for granted is gone. They may put on a brave face in public, acting indifferent, pretending like nothing has changed. But inside, that silence is tearing them apart. Every empty moment, every notification that doesn't carry your name, is a reminder of what they lost. They're haunted by your absence, by the void you left behind. The urge to reach out, to call, to cry, it's there. But their pride keeps them frozen, trapped in silent regret. They replay those moments in their head, seeing everything they took for granted in a new light, now that it's too late. They might smile in public, but behind closed doors, it's just darkness and the crushing weight of loss. Your silence. That's your power. It's your way of reclaiming control, of stepping into your strength. So, let's take a moment to say this together. Silence is my superpower. Say it out loud, believe it. Silence isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the loudest message you'll ever send. And trust me, they'll feel it. As the great philosopher Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This moment isn't about them. It's about you. It's about owning your power. So, go ahead. Declare it, silence is my superpower. And stay with me, because this is just the beginning. Stick around, and I'll show you how silence shifts everything, how it flips the script and forces them to confront the emptiness they now feel. We're going to dive deeper into how silence changes the dynamic, makes them see the void you once filled, and leaves them questioning how they let you slip away. Now, before we dive too deeply into their story, let's take a moment to talk about you. I know you still love them, maybe in a way you always will, despite the hurt, despite how they treated you like a habit they could easily drop. That kind of love isn't easy to let go of. And because of that, there's probably a voice in the back of your mind asking, what if they just move on? What if my silence doesn't matter to them? Sound familiar? The fear of being forgotten, of them brushing you aside like you never mattered. It feels like it's tearing you apart, doesn't it? But let me tell you something. They're not moving on, not emotionally, at least. Sure, you might see them putting on a brave face, acting like your silence doesn't bother them. Like they're perfectly fine without you. But behind that mask, there's a storm raging. They feel your absence far more deeply than they'd ever admit, even if they're pretending not to care. Your silence, it's reached a place words never could. And here's the hard truth. If they don't recognize your worth in this silence, if they don't feel that loss, they never truly valued you in the first place. Do you really want someone who needs constant reminders to see how much you're worth? Someone who only realizes what they have when they're about to lose it? This silence isn't just a pause, it's a test. A moment of truth for both of you. If they can't see your value now, then that clarity is priceless. Hold on to that. Because that truth, it's powerful. So, you keep going. You stay grounded and let them sit with your absence. Trust me, they feel it already. And if they don't, well, that's your answer right there. But if they do, they'll begin to understand just how much you meant to them. And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. It's a small way to show that you're with me on this journey. Because this isn't just about silence. It's about reclaiming your power, your worth, and your strength. Are you ready to dive deeper? Let's do this. Because now comes the part they'll feel the most. The moment they realize you're truly gone. We're standing at the start of that realization, the beginning of their awakening. This is where the weight of your absence hits them, where they finally notice you're no longer there, no longer within reach. Sure, they might be putting on a brave face, acting like nothing's changed. But deep down, they feel it, that familiar warmth slipping away, untouchable now. Here's where many of us go wrong. We feel a pang of sympathy, a flicker of doubt sneaking in. We think, maybe I should check in. Just remind them I'm still here. And then we reach out, breaking the silence, undoing the power of our absence. But let's be clear, that's a mistake we can't afford to make. Silence is about letting them sit with their own thoughts, their own mistakes, their own emptiness. It's not about giving them the comfort of knowing you're still there, waiting in the wings. Each time you break the silence, you hand back the power you've worked so hard to reclaim. This isn't the time to check in. This is about letting them experience the full weight of losing you, without interruption. And here's another trap we often fall into. We think silence means waiting, watching our phones, wondering if they've noticed. But silence isn't about waiting for them. It's about redirecting all that energy you once poured into them back into yourself. Silence is about moving forward. Building. Growing stronger. Think of it as your transformation, a chance to become someone who shapes their own future, not someone who just waits. If they truly care, if they truly love you, this absence will shake them. It will make them see your worth in ways they never did before. Your silence is like planting a seed, one that will either grow or wither. If they care, they'll feel the pull, the ache, the urge to come back to you. And if they don't, let this silence reveal that truth now rather than later. Because the last thing you want is to hold on to someone who doesn't value you without constant reminders. As Seneca said, if you want a true friend, break away from those who would not grieve to lose you. This is the power of silence. It reveals who values you and who doesn't. They're either feeling the loss or moving on. And either way, you win. You're discovering who deserves your time, your energy, your love. Picture yourself standing tall, facing forward, no longer looking back. You're building a life based on strength and growth, not on someone else's attention or validation. And as you move forward, the right people, the ones who truly see your worth, will notice. Those who care will find a way to catch up. And if they don't, then you'll know walking away was the best decision you ever made. So let's take a moment for an affirmation to ground us in this part of the journey. I choose myself over their attention. My silence is my strength. Say it out loud. Write it down if you need to. And remember, this is just the beginning. Right now, we don't know if they truly value you or if they'll ever realize what they've lost. But honestly, that's not your concern. This silence is the start, the beginning of uncovering the truth. And soon, the answers will reveal themselves. Hold on, because every step forward brings clarity, and you're about to witness the true power of silence. If they seem indifferent, don't be fooled. That's just a mask, a facade. But we'll get to that part soon enough. Stick with me, because this journey has so much more to reveal. Now, let's keep moving forward. You've chosen silence. And the ripples are already starting. But here's where things can get tricky, the mask of indifference. This is the stage that throws so many of us off track. It's when they act like nothing's changed, as if your absence is just another day in their life. You might see them posting on social media, smiling with friends, acting like they're doing better than ever. They'll appear calm, unbothered, as if your silence is nothing but background noise. But that mask of indifference? It's not the truth. It's a shield, a defense mechanism, to make you think they don't care. When people feel a shift in control, when they're no longer the center of your world, they put up walls. It's a bluff, an act to convince you their life hasn't skipped a beat. Think of it like a poker game. They're holding their cards close, refusing to show any weakness, hoping you'll be the one to reach out first. They want you to think they're unaffected, but it's all part of the act. Here's where most people fall into the trap. Seeing them so seemingly unaffected makes us doubt everything. We think, maybe I should check in. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they really are fine without me. But here's the truth. Their indifference is just a game. It's the first line of defense people use when they feel their control slipping. They're not just trying to convince you, they're trying to convince themselves. As the wise Epictetus said, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him. Your silence is revealing something in them they don't want to face. So instead of dealing with it, they wear this mask, hoping you'll crack first, hoping you'll reach out and restore their sense of security. Imagine it like a shield they're hiding behind. They're praying you won't see the cracks forming underneath. This is your moment to stand firm. Because the moment you reach out, the moment you break, you hand back the power your silence has given you. Your silence is working on them, even if they won't admit it. But it only works if you let it. If you give in, you're back at square one, and they'll know they still have control over you. That indifference? It's just a flimsy wall. Behind it, your absence is pressing on them, little by little. They might not even realize it yet, but that emptiness you left is starting to settle in. They're beginning to see that filling that void isn't as simple as pretending not to care. They're in a silent panic, hoping you don't notice their vulnerability. It's subtle, but the pressure is building, and the cracks in their mask are starting to show. Here's where your real test begins. Silence isn't just about waiting, it's about growing. The power of silence peaks when you redirect your energy toward yourself. Instead of staring at your phone, wondering if they'll finally realize what they've lost, focus on building your life. Each day you pour energy into your growth is a day you become stronger, and that strength? They'll feel it. Your silence will stir something in them. The resilience you're building will become impossible for them to ignore. Their mask of indifference will start to feel heavy, uncomfortable, like something that no longer fits. And as it slips, they'll feel the pull, the urge to reach out to you. But what if they don't? What if that mask is all there is, and there's nothing underneath? Then let this silence reveal that truth. Because clarity is worth more than any illusion of comfort. The last thing you need is to waste your love on someone who only values you when you're constantly reminding them of your worth. As Marcus Aurelius said, it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them. If they're truly unmoved by your absence, let that judgment stand. Let it guide you forward, away from someone who doesn't see your value. So here's your reminder. Stay focused on yourself. Let their mask of indifference be just that, a mask. Don't let it shake you. Don't let it pull you back. This is your time to build, to grow, to create a life that doesn't depend on someone else's validation. If they miss you, they'll come back in their own time, on their own terms. And if they don't, they've cleared space in your life for someone who will truly value you. Say this with me. I am unshaken by their indifference. I am building my strength and my worth. Write it down. Say it out loud. Make it your truth. Whenever doubt creeps in, remind yourself of this. You're growing stronger, more resilient, every single day. And stay with me, because this journey is far from over. The mask of indifference won't hold up forever, and soon, the truth will start to seep through. We're just getting started, and there's so much more to uncover. Now, we step into a heavier stage. The weight of regret. At first, they tried to brush it off, hide their feelings, act like your silence didn't matter. But now, it's hitting them, really hitting them, like a wave they can't outrun. They're beginning to feel the emptiness, the void you left behind, and regret is creeping in like a shadow they can't shake. It's no longer about pretending they don't care. It's about realizing that maybe, just maybe, they made a mistake they can't undo. Picture them replaying every memory, every moment they had to appreciate you, every opportunity they wasted by brushing you aside. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, looking back at all the things they took for granted. Now, those choices are haunting them. Every careless word, every dismissive action, they see it all now with a sinking heart, realizing it's costing them more than they ever expected. As the philosopher Seneca once said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Right now, they're feeling the end of what they had with you. And it's sinking in. They won't admit it to anyone, and they'll never say it out loud, but deep down, they feel the sting of losing something real. Regret doesn't make a grand entrance. It seeps in, slow and quiet, like a shadow that follows them wherever they go. And the longer you stay silent, the stronger it grows. This isn't just about missing you. It's about realizing they had something truly valuable, something irreplaceable, and they let it slip through their fingers. Most people, when regret starts to set in, try to push it away. They'll keep up the facade, acting like nothing's changed. But inside, they're wrestling with the weight of their actions. They're thinking about every chance they had to treat you better, to value you, to keep you close. And each memory stings. They're struggling with their pride, their guilt, and the painful realization that they've lost control, and that loss hurts more than they imagined. This is the moment where you might feel sympathy. You might feel the urge to step in, to ease their pain, to let them know you understand. But remember this. This is their journey, not yours. They need to feel the full weight of regret, the emptiness of their actions, to truly grasp what they've lost. Stepping in now, even with the best intentions, would only take away the lesson they need to learn. Regret has its purpose. Sometimes, people need to sit with it, to let it weigh on them, to understand the true value of what they've let go. So take a deep breath, and hold on to this affirmation. I am worth more than their regret. I choose myself over anyone's temporary feelings. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let it sink in. You are not here to rescue them from the consequences of their choices. Their regret is theirs to carry. Your strength is yours to build. Stay with me on this journey, because we're still only halfway through. Regret is powerful, but it's just the beginning of what they'll feel. Their journey doesn't end here. As their regret deepens, they'll be forced to confront even more truths they can't avoid. Hold tight, because there's still so much more ahead. And if you're still here, if these words resonate with your own experience, take a moment to reflect on where you are in this journey. Have you embraced silence? Or are you still wrestling with doubts, holding on to something that no longer serves you? Drop a keep it up in the comments if you're staying strong, because this journey is about more than just them realizing what they've lost. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself, building a life that doesn't rely on someone else's validation. Stay tuned, because the next phase is all about facing the masks, the substitutes, and what happens when they try to fill the void you left behind. We're just getting started, so let's keep going. Let's keep going deeper into this journey. Now, they're starting to feel the weight of regret. But instead of facing it, instead of sitting with that discomfort, they might try to take a shortcut. And what do? They start looking for someone new. They're trying to fill the gap you left, hoping a quick fix can replace your presence. This stage can be hard for you to watch, especially if they're flaunting it, acting like they've moved on effortlessly, as if you were just another chapter they've turned the page on. But don't be fooled. This isn't about moving on. It's about escaping. Think of it like putting a bandage over a wound that runs deep. They're not healing, they're covering it up, hoping that a new connection will numb the ache. They're looking for a distraction, anything that makes them forget, even for a moment. But that's all it is, a distraction. The presence of someone else can't replace the presence they lost with you, and deep down, they know it. They're using this new person as a mask, a way to avoid facing their feelings. They're hoping that if they stay busy, keep moving, the emptiness you left won't catch up to them. This attempt to replace you is more about coping than it is about connection. They're trying to convince themselves, and maybe even you, that they're fine, that they're happy, that they've moved on. But real connection isn't something you can swap out like a piece of jewelry. It's not about finding someone new to fill a void. When people lose something meaningful, their first instinct is often to find a substitute, something that fills the space without requiring them to change or grow. But that's like trying to force the wrong puzzle piece into place. From a distance, it might look like it fits, but up close, the emptiness is still there. They might start going out more, posting on social media, and showing off their new connections as if they're living their best life. But remember this, it's not about you. It's about their inability to sit with their own discomfort. They're hiding behind this show, trying to convince themselves that they've moved on. But deep down, they know the truth. You can't replace something real with something temporary. They're putting up a front, trying to shield themselves from the sting of regret. But inside, they're still wrestling with the emptiness that new faces and fleeting distractions can't cure. Seeing this might make you question your worth. You might wonder if you even mattered, if you were that easy to replace. But remember, this isn't a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their fear. They're afraid to face the void you left behind. They're afraid of the silence. So instead of confronting it, they run to someone new, hoping that person can fill a space only you once occupied. If you need an affirmation, keep this one close. I am irreplaceable. My value cannot be duplicated or substituted. Say it with conviction every time doubt tries to creep in. This journey is about uncovering the truth. And right now, their actions are revealing that they're not ready to face it. Some people would rather mask their pain with a temporary fix than confront the real loss. They'll hide behind someone new, hoping the emptiness will fade, but it never truly does. And if they never come to this realization, you'll know they were never capable of valuing you fully in the first place. So hold on to that affirmation. Remind yourself that their actions don't define your worth. If they're running to someone new, let that be their journey, their coping mechanism, their distraction. Because a real connection, something meaningful, can't be swapped out. And every time they try, every time they look to someone else to fill the gap, they're reminded of what they lost. It's like trying to cover a wound without letting it heal. No matter how hard they try to ignore it, the ache of that emptiness will follow them. As the philosopher Alain de Botton once said, people only get truly interesting when they start to rattle the bars of their cages. But instead of breaking free from the cage of denial, they're staying locked inside, hoping that a new face will distract them from the truth. They're avoiding the discomfort, refusing to see the value of what they lost. And that's their journey to take, not yours. We've now entered a new phase, the unraveling. This is where things begin to fall apart for them, and reality starts to sink in. At first, they thought they could carry on as if nothing had changed. But without the stability you brought, without the reassurance of your presence, their world starts to crack. You weren't just someone who showed up, you were their anchor, their constant, the foundation they leaned on without even realizing it. And now that foundation is gone, and the cracks are beginning to show. It's like trying to hold water in their hands. No matter how tightly they grip, it slips away. They may think they're holding it together, but beneath the surface, everything is unraveling. The distractions they used to fill the void, they're starting to feel empty and meaningless. They're realizing the world they built without you isn't as solid as they thought. In their quiet moments, that emptiness grows louder. Their friendships might feel shallow, their routines hollow, and their focus scattered. That sense of grounding, of stability you gave them, it's gone. Now, they're lost, floating, trying to regain their footing without the anchor they took for granted. This is when they start to feel the full weight of their choices. They're forced to confront the mess they created, and no distraction is strong enough to keep the emptiness at bay. They begin to realize that something is missing, and that something is you. It's a quiet realization. The stability they once relied on is gone, and they're left to face the consequences of taking it for granted. At this stage, you might feel tempted to step in, to offer support, to ease their pain. But remember, this is their journey. They need to experience this unraveling, this realization, without you swooping in to save them. It's the only way they'll truly understand the weight of what they lost. If you step in now, you take away the clarity they're just beginning to find. Hold on to this affirmation. I am the stability they lost, but my strength is my own. Repeat this to yourself whenever you feel the urge to help them or ease their discomfort. They need to face this journey alone. This is your time to grow, to stand tall, to become stronger than ever before. We're getting closer to the heart of this journey. The truth is revealing itself more with each passing moment, and the weight of your absence is only just beginning to settle on them. But this isn't over yet. The real understanding, the full impact of what they lost, is still waiting for them. And soon, they won't be able to ignore it. Let's keep going, because as they struggle with this silence, the final truths will start to surface, and their real feelings will come out in ways they can't hide. Now we're entering the final stages of this journey. This is where your silence becomes a force they can no longer avoid, a void that keeps growing, a realization that finally sinks in. They've tried to mask it, to run from it, to distract themselves, but now all their defenses are failing. What they're left with is silence, a hollow, inescapable void that grows louder every day. Imagine this. They're alone, with nothing but the echo of your absence. The connections they tried to make, the people they used as substitutes, the facade they built to appear fine, none of it fills the emptiness they feel now. There's no escaping the ache, no avoiding the awareness that they had something precious and irreplaceable, and they let it slip away. This void isn't the loud, dramatic kind of pain. It's quiet. It's relentless. It's a constant ache that deepens with time. At first, they thought they could push past it, that it would fade. But every day without you brings them closer to a truth they can't deny. They're struggling in the space where your presence once was. No matter what they do, they're met with the same emptiness, a reminder of what they threw away. Picture them lying awake at night, staring at their phone, waiting for a message from you that never comes. It's in those still, quiet moments, when the distractions are gone, that the ache of your absence grows strongest. They might try to keep busy, to stay distracted, but this silence is everywhere, following them like a shadow. And here's where you might feel tempted to reach out, to ask if they're okay, to offer them some comfort. But remember this. This silence is their journey, not yours. They need to feel this void fully, to understand the consequences of their actions without you stepping in to save them. If they truly cared, if they truly valued you, this silence will resonate with them. It will stir up feelings they tried to bury, feelings they can no longer ignore. If there was love there, real love, this silence will push them to face it. They'll begin to realize they lost something they can't replace. But if they don't care, if they make it through this silence unaffected, then that clarity is your gift. It shows you they were never as invested as you were, and that freedom will allow you to move forward with confidence. Hold on to this affirmation. My silence speaks of my strength and worth. Say it every time doubt creeps in, every time you feel tempted to reach out. Your silence isn't a weakness, it's a choice. It's a decision to respect yourself enough to step back and let them face the reality they created. If they can't see your worth through the silence, then they were never meant to have a place in your life. Stay strong, because their real feelings, the final truths, are starting to surface. And soon enough, they won't be able to hide from them any longer. Now we're reaching the end, the breaking point. After all the masks, the distractions, and the attempts to fill the void, they've arrived at a moment where they can no longer ignore the truth. They face a choice: confront what they've lost, take responsibility, and grow, or stay trapped in denial, letting regret weigh them down forever. For some, this is where the pain becomes unbearable. They spiral, crushed by guilt and the realization that they lost something they can never replace. They start to understand that the regret, the emptiness, the ache, it's not going away. It becomes a permanent presence, a constant reminder of what they let slip through their fingers. Every attempt to move past it only brings them back to the same conclusion. They lost something real, something unique, and they'll never find it again. Others, however, might choose a different path. For them, your absence becomes a wake-up call, a moment of clarity. They're hit with the realization that they still have a chance, maybe not to undo the past, but to confront what they lost, understand where they went wrong, and grow into a better version of themselves. It's like standing at a fork in the road. They can let the regret consume them, or they can use it as fuel for growth. This is where Marcus Aurelius's words ring true. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your silence was their obstacle, their wake-up call, forcing them to make a choice, evolve or remain stagnant. If they break through, it's because they allowed themselves to learn from their mistakes. If they break down, it's because they refuse to face the truth of their actions. And here's the beautiful part about this final stage. Whichever path they choose, you're no longer tied to it. You've done your part. You stepped back. You gave them the space to face their own reality. Their growth, or lack of it, is no longer your responsibility. But you've grown. You've reclaimed your strength, your worth, your independence. So for this final affirmation, take a deep breath and say, I am free. Now, you're stepping into a new chapter. A chapter where your value isn't dependent on someone else's recognition. A chapter where your strength isn't defined by anyone's approval. You've come out of this journey with clarity, confidence, and a new understanding of your worth. Whether they realize what they lost or not, you've gained something far more valuable: self-respect, strength, and independence. And as you move forward, you're free to create a life that reflects your true value. This journey wasn't easy, but look at where you are now. You're stronger, wiser, ready for a future that honors your growth. As we wrap up, take a moment to let this sink in. Your silence, your strength, your journey, they've shown you what you're truly capable of. You've set boundaries that reflect your worth. And whether they wake up to what they lost or not, you've gained something priceless. Thank you for being part of this journey. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to share it and spread the power of self-worth and resilience. And before you go, let us know in the comments. Are you ready to embrace a new chapter of independence? Or are you open to new connections that truly reflect your value? Let us know. And remember, you've come so far, and this is only the beginning. The freedom and fulfillment you deserve are right here, waiting for you to claim them.